You may be seated. Good evening. We gather together for consolation and comfort, to name the sorrow and pain that is so real right now, and to ask God to send us love and peace to sustain us in our time of need. We gather to know that we are not alone, that we are surrounded by many who were loved by Stacey and whose lives were made better because of her warmth, her presence, the way she lived her life. We gather to share stories and memories, knowing that nothing can make up for the absence of someone we love. It would be wrong to try to find a substitute. We must simply see it through, and together we do that, sharing laughter and tears, knowing God is with us. Let us pray. Loving God, you are the maker of heaven and earth. You formed Stacey in your image and made her a blessing to each one of us. Thank you for the life we shared with Stacey. You stand with us in the shadows, keeping near to your sons and daughters. Surround us with your peace. Lord, you hear the prayers of all who cry out in sorrow. Send your Holy Spirit to comfort and give us hope. You are the resurrection and the life. You suffered and died and rose from the grave to show us that nothing can separate us from your love. Embrace us in your love until we too shall be received into your everlasting arms through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen. We have a beautiful program from friends, but we start with words on behalf of the family from Derek.
Good evening. On behalf of my father, Dennis, my siblings, and my extended family, I want to thank you all for coming to celebrate the life of Stacey. The outpouring of condolences, thoughts, and asking to help in any way has been unbelievable, and I couldn't thank you all enough. It really means a lot, and also shows that Stacey was a big part of many people's lives. So trying to think of how to summarize Stacey for myself and my siblings, the best way I could describe Stacey is selfless. She taught, she mentored, she mothered, and overall she just lived her life to try and make people better and more successful. Going through pictures, it was hard to find many of her, as she was usually the one taking them. And she took a lot of pictures at hockey games of the kids, the grandkids. But with that, she just didn't focus on her own. She made a point to get a picture of every single skater. And she would actually upload them, editing them at night and sending them to everybody, because that's just who she was. I also think a big reason why she spent so much time taking pictures was to relieve some of the anxiety of having a son and a grandson playing goalie, which can be pretty stressful sometimes. She also drove hundreds of miles for specialized goalie training to make sure that they could put their best foot forward to keep being successful. Volunteering in 4-H so all the kids could experience what that had to offer. And during the pandemic, she sent the grandkids videos and stories and things to keep their minds busy, as we all couldn't be together. So again, just absolutely amazing. Then reading her Facebook wall and seeing all of the students, friends that would write things that she made such a big impact on who they were and who they are as teachers. In all our troubled youth, with the shenanigans we pulled and the words that were exchanged, she forgave all of us. I felt like I was in a really good place in my life, along with her and my family, as we were getting to a spot where life is going to be great. Unfortunately, that was cut a little short. The last text message I received from her was about Elliot's birthday. It was coming up. She asked if he was saving up for anything special, or if he wanted to go to a hockey camp, or just wanted to come up and rent a jet ski for the day. And on her last day, she spent helping make sure everyone is going to be successful, because that's just what she was. She was selfless. So I ask all of you not to mourn her loss, but to pay tribute to her by being the most successful version that you can be, because that's how she lived her life. That's all she really wanted for us and for all of you. And if you would like to donate any memorials to the RCTC Foundation in Stacey's name, it will be used to start a scholarship, because I think that would be one of the greatest things that would have her legacy live on from now until forever. So that's Stacey in a nutshell, in my version and from my siblings. So I got my friend Zach here, who plays guitar. I'd like to just sing a song, and she loved to hear us. She was probably one of our biggest supporters, always posting about us. I don't know what she saw in us, but we had fun doing it, so I thought this would be my biggest tribute to her, is to perform for you guys. And so the song I'll be singing is, it's called I Won't Give Up by Jason Mraz. And it's my tribute to her, saying it's not over for us. We're going to keep going on, and we won't give up either. So. It's on, okay. Let's go. When I look into your eyes, it's like watching the night sky, or a beautiful sunrise. There's so much to hold. And just like them old stars, I see that you've come so far to be right where you are. How old is your soul? Well, I won't give up on us, even if the skies get rough. I'm giving you all my love. I'm still looking up. And when you're needing your space to do some navigating, I'll be here patiently waiting to see what you find. 'Cause even the stars, they burn, some even fall to the earth. We got a lot to learn, but God knows we're worth it. No, I won't give up. I don't want to be someone who walks away so easily. I'm here to stay and make the difference that I can make. A difference, they do a lot to teach us how to use the tools and gifts. Yeah, we got a lot at stake. And in the end, you're still my friend. At least we didn't intend for us to break. We didn't burn. We had to learn how to bend without the world caving in. I had to learn what I got and what I'm not and who I am. I won't give up on us, even if the skies get rough. I'm giving you all my love. I'm still looking up. I'm still looking up. I won't give up on us. God knows I'm tough enough. I'm giving you all my love. God knows we're worth it. I won't give up on us, even if the skies get rough. I'm giving you all my love. I'm still looking up. Thank you.
Not sure how I'm supposed to follow that, but believe me, you don't want me to sing, so. My name is Jennifer Irwin, and I have had the pleasure of working with Stacey for most of her 14 years at RCTC. I was her administrative assistant and Focus on the Children conference coordinator. Stacey always had big ideas, and I was the detail person to make those big ideas happen. But more than that, Stacey was my friend. Sorry. She came to my bridal shower and wedding. We spent Saturday nights at Deer Creek Speedway watching stock car races. We went to Minnesota Wild, Rochester IceHawks, and Grizzlies games together. If she asked, I tried to accommodate. We worked on Beyond the Yellow Ribbon, Halloween events with the RCTC football players, and at the Hiawatha Homes Festival of Trees kids events. Stacey was a beautiful soul to everyone she met. She had a heart of gold that was 10 times the size of yours and mine. Students came to her early childhood program because of her. As you will hear from the people speaking tonight, she has left a lasting impression on many people and will be sorely missed. Stacey, thank you for giving me the strength to get through with this. Thank you, Dennis, Tyler, Derek, and the rest of the family for trusting me to honor Stacey and for allowing me to help celebrate her life. I would like to now introduce Jeffrey Boyd, Rochester Community and Technical College's president. In his role as president, Dr. Boyd works with the faculty and staff to provide leadership and direction to execute the mission and vision for our college.
Good evening, everyone. And thank you for joining us as we celebrate the life of our dear friend, our colleague, and our loved one, Stacey York. As said, my name is Jeffrey Boyd, and I'm fortunate to be the president here. We're really happy that we're able to host this for you and the family. And to the family, please accept our heartfelt condolences for your loss. Stacey was a beloved member of the RCTC family, and she always will be. Our thoughts and our prayers are with each of you as you navigate through these very difficult and unexpected waters. You know, when I think of Stacey, I just think of that smile. When I heard the news, that was the very first thing. When I closed my eyes and prayed, I just saw a smile. And as I've read the comments on social media from former students, colleagues, her life was a life well lived. She will be greatly missed on this campus and by many in the community whose life she's touched. I will leave you with the words of Mahalia Jackson as I think of Stacey's life. If I can help somebody as I pass along, if I can cheer somebody with a word or song, if I can show somebody that they're traveling wrong, then my living shall not be in vain. If I can do my duties as a good person ought, if I can bring back beauty to a world upwrought, if I can share love's message like the Master taught, then my living shall not be in vain. Stacey's life was not in vain. Thank you, and God bless each of you.
Ginny Boyum is the former Dean of Academic Effectiveness and Innovation at Rochester Community and Technical College. Ginny worked with Stacey for many years, first as a county faculty counterpart and then as her dean.
Thank you. It is an honor to be here this evening, and it is an honor to have been invited to speak. Stacey is larger than life, and I can honestly say I am a better person. This place is a better college because Stacey was here. I have a unique perspective. I've been really blessed to have been her supervisor, and I learned a lot from Stacey. There's a couple of things that come to mind when you think about favorite memories. And anytime there is a hard-working professional woman that gives and gives, I know there is a family that has had sacrifices. There are times that she likely wasn't where she wanted to be, but she was serving her students or this place. So from the bottom of my heart, on behalf of the students and all of us, I am so thankful for your sacrifice and for her time. I had the privilege of learning my role with Stacey as one of my faculty members. She was a veteran faculty member. I was a brand new administrator. I didn't know what I was doing at all. And she was a woman full of grace and mercy, and taught me a couple of things right off the bat. First, she said, "You've got to learn my language." She hated 2 words. One was babysitter. There are no babysitters, there are child educators, and there are teachers. And the second thing I had to learn is there is no daycare. I mean, she thought that was a ridiculous word. Where do you take care of day? We have learning centers. And everything that she spoke of was about excellence in programming. She was passionate about her field. And she and I hit it off immediately because I'm a huge fan of ECFE. My kids benefited from that, and I truly believe that her view of child education as a profession as a profession, bled into her curriculum development, bled into her program, and really was what the students were expected to understand and know. She had a big university-level education. She was super smart. And she expected the best out of her students because she knew they were going to take care of your kids and mine, that they were going to be taking care of the next generation that was coming up. And she knew that that was a really super important job. She advocated early on that this should be viewed as a high-paying profession. And when people didn't listen, she jumped on the governor's task force and started making that more publicly aware of the needs of high-quality child educators. And the best part is it should be for every child. Every child, no matter what race, what color, what background they had, every child deserved a good pre-K education. She did credit for prior learning before it was even popular, and she used that as a pathway to acknowledge the work that students were doing outside in the community, but they benefit from getting and finishing a degree, and that was really fun. She was a leader on this campus for credit for prior learning. She was doing active engaged learning way before it was cool for the other faculty members to move from lecture to hands-on learning. And she used technology. In fact, she went through a Quality Matters training course, which is a way of getting kudos for the teaching level that you had, and she not only blew it out of the water, but she gave them feedback about how they could improve their process. That's the Stacey that I knew. She was a lifelong learner. She provided the first faculty evaluation on this campus in an e-folio. And we didn't even have a place to store it. It was so innovative and cool. So she kept a digital file of it, and it was amazing. She sought the expertise. She trusted people that knew what they were doing with what they needed to do. And I have to say, the first year that I worked with her, she did the Focus on the Children conference. It was a conference they thought big. They had national speakers come in because Stacey knew people and got them to come in. And I was the dean that had to sign all of those forms that said forced encumbrance. And if you're an administrator, that's not a good thing. I was scared to death, and every time I'd get a little fearful, Stacey would go, "It's gonna be okay. It's gonna be awesome." And we broke records that year, thanks to Jen and a team of a number of professionals that are here today. I am so grateful for the opportunity to have worked with Stacey. I am grateful for the amazing woman she was, and I'm grateful for the influence that she has not only on this place and in my life, but all of those kids that have been impacted because someone who knew what they were doing were taking care of them. Thank you for sharing your family member. You have my deepest, deepest sympathy.
I now would like to introduce Senator John Marty. The senator and his wife, Connie, are longtime friends of Stacey's. She was the godmother to their daughter.
I'm pleased to be with you. As Jen said, my wife Connie and I are longtime friends of Stacey and Dennis. I'm honored to share a few thoughts about this incredible woman that we're here to pay tribute to. When Dennis first posted the tragic news about Stacey's death, in his grief-stricken words, he wrote that Stacey made him a better person. Ginny just said the same. That's not hard to believe because I think everyone here is a better person because of Stacey's kindness and her compassion and her generosity. My wife and I have known Stacey for almost 40 years. We connected with her because she was a roommate temporarily with my wife's sister, and so they quickly became friends. And anybody who was a friend of Stacey, well, anybody who was their friend also became a friend of Stacey. So Connie and I became close friends. We loved the sparkle in her eyes. We loved her gentleness. And we watched as she became an early childhood education professional, which seemed natural for her, given her wisdom, her creativity, her patience, her love, and her concern for children. We watched as she completed grad school, started teaching. She published her first book. A few years later, we watched as Stacey fell in love with Dennis and married him. We watched as they adopted and raised their children, moved south of the cities, started a farm where she continued to teach and write and consult. But perhaps more importantly, to raise and nurture her family. Because of our friendship and because I've been a state legislator since a couple years after we met, Stacey used her passion, as was mentioned, to advocate with me and other elected officials for public policies to strengthen families, that invest in children, and that reflect the idea that any healthy society needs to nurture each person regardless of their race or their culture or their age or their gender. Stacey wanted a society that makes this nurturing possible. As with all of her interactions with others, it was obvious how much she cared. It was obvious she had a heart 10 times bigger than us. I'd like to take a minute to focus on Stacey's kindness. Some people think describing somebody as kind is about the weakest compliment you can give. It sounds kind of weak, maybe even sappy, but it's not. True kindness is the opposite. Of all the virtues a person may have, I think kindness is about the most important and the most ignored. Kindness stems from love, and it requires a deep love. Kindness expresses that love in a manner that understands the needs of the other person. Kindness is filled with empathy when one is hurting, with encouragement when one is losing hope, joy when one has success, firmness when discipline is required, and companionship when one is lonely. Being kind matters a lot. Pope John the 23rd, Roman Catholic Pope in the early 1960s, said something that speaks to the noble trait that kindness is. I'm not Catholic, but I was so moved by this commitment to being kind regardless of the tendency each of us has to be unkind when others are mean to us. Pope John's word implied the difficulty of being kind when the world isn't always kind. He was writing shortly after World War II, after seeing often unspeakably horrid, cruel, and heartless world we live in. He said words that I think each of us would do well to emulate. Quote, I don't care what they say or think of me. I must be good and kind always to everyone. That's not easy when we're living in a real world and dealing with people who don't always treat us well. And I don't know anybody who embodied that noble trait of kindness better than Stacey. She was kind. Kindness defined her in her roles as wife, as mother, as teacher, as nurturer of other people, and frankly, nurturer of animals too. Stacey had a deep, abiding kindness. That's why it would be appropriate to describe Stacey as, I think, and I mean this, a saint. A very human person with flaws like each of us, but always consistently kind and loving. 36 years ago, we asked Stacey to be our daughter's godparent because we knew how loving and nurturing she was. And I mention that relationship because it illustrates how Stacey took her commitment seriously. Back then, Stacey gave our kids the most creative, most thoughtful gifts you could give. She gave her time. Aunt Stacey gave coupons, and I mean literal coupons she hand wrote out that the kids could redeem with her for one-on-one time. Dates to do things like bake cookies together, or take them ice skating, or go to a museum. Even though it had been years from when Stacey had last seen our daughter when she got married when our daughter got married 3 years ago in New York, Stacey brought Dennis and Tyler to the wedding, despite the distance, despite it being during the school year, despite the expense, despite every other obstacle. She wanted to be present to show her love and support for her goddaughter. And then this January, when our daughter's mother-in-law died unexpectedly, Stacey sent a sympathy card, a kind note filled with empathy, expressing the depth of understanding that Stacey had, recalling her own experience losing her dad unexpectedly and much too soon as well. Stacey's words to her goddaughter address the unspeakable grief that Dennis and Tyler, Mackenzie and Vinny, Joseph, Derek and Megan, Jenny and Justin and all the grandkids and all of Stacey's family and all of her friends. The things we're going through, Stacey wrote in her sympathy note earlier this year, quote, "Everything in the house speaks to a person who's fully alive. There's all the dreams and the plans for the future. Oh, the feelings that a life was taken too soon. They died too young." Stacey's note to her goddaughter Elsa gave wise counsel that can be of great value to Dennis and the family and all of us at this grief-stricken time. Again, in Stacey's words, be gentle with yourself. Take the time to grieve and celebrate her life. And then Stacey blessed them, and it seemed, even though this was written 6 months ago, that she was blessing all of us at this time with the words, "I wish you rest," moments of joy and laughter, and hope that breaks through the sadness. Stacey, we love you. We love your many wonderful qualities, but of all of them, your loving kindness stands out. May we all remember this bright, caring, compassionate, loving woman who left us far too soon. And in Stacey's memory, may we all strive to be kind to everyone, no matter the circumstance, and share that kindness that Stacey so generously shared with each of us. Thank you, and God bless you.
Paula Achenbach is a friend of Stacey's and will now share some memories of her.
Hi, I'm Paula Achenbach, and I don't know if you know what the word synchronicity means. It's like you have these experiences that you think, oh yeah, that was one of those moments. And Stacey and I have had that kind of relationship since I've known her. Both of us were child development people. The first time I heard about her, she and I actually were kind of deciding on whether we were going to take the same job. And I don't think either of us took the job, think about it. But I heard her name, and I never had a face around her. Then she came to St. Paul, and I was a parent educator then, and she was doing multicultural curriculum and non-biased approaches with children. Now, believe it or not, we had a year this year where everybody's been telling us that we need to be more aware of multicultural issues and people, but that was back in 1983, 88, something like that, somewhere in there. And she was just light years ahead of understanding the importance of people understanding that each other's differences is our strengths, and how we help children with that at an early age, and parents. It was remarkable. It was still one of my favorite books, Roots and Wings. Hold on to that thought, Roots and Wings. A few years later, I got my master's. She had already finished hers. I got my master's in family therapy with an emphasis on young children. So I'm a play therapist. And comes in my office, these two people, and I'm like, Stacey York, I know that name. And she brought two of her sons in to do some play therapy, and there was another one of those moments, synchronicity moments. Dennis and I were talking, and if you've talked to Dennis, and he can have these creative ideas sometimes that have no boundaries. And he was telling me that he thought the best healer for these two boys was this big black dog they had named Hawkeye. Remember Hawkeye? You don't, but your brothers do. Giant lab, and the boys would just hang on him. And I said, yeah, I believe that. And my office at the time was right next to the Humane Society, and I used to take kids over there all the time, and we'd check out a cat, and we'd talk about body language and what's the cat telling you and all this sort of stuff. And I had the honor to work with this family in a very special way. And Dennis says, well, you know what I want to do is I want to get a farm. I think this is going to, teach them responsibility. And I used to train horses in college. Oh my gosh. And at this Humane Society, they'd had a workshop called the Four-Footed Therapist. And I said, yeah, I believe that. And I said, there was a lot of equine people who were attending this. That was on dog therapy, but there was a lot of equine people, and I thought, God, that'd be so cool. That would be so good for kids. How do you, as a therapist, teach responsibility, self-confidence? How do we do that? And so by giving them real experiences. Well, Stacey and I took the training for equine assisted therapy called a gala that summer. And that was an aha experience for me. Dennis and Stacey did buy a farm in Cannon Falls, and we started practicing equine assisted therapy that year with some of my clients. This is my 15th summer. I'm close to retiring, and I still love the work. And I still see kids every day making changes and becoming more into their bodies, into their brain, into their confidence of who they are. It's an incredible experience. And I want to thank you. We bought this horse, remember, together? Dennis calls me up and he says, when we were first talking, and he goes, you want to go run on a horse with me? I mean, I had horseback ride as a kid twice, Oh my gosh, these people always got me into trouble. Well, they when they moved to Cannon, they're right next to Simon's, which I don't know if you people are horse people, but every Friday night they auction off horses there. Well, pretty soon our two horses that we went in together got up to 15, and then we had sheep and mini horses and mini goats and chickens and you name it. They had it. They are animal lovers in a big, big way. When you talk about heart, though, when you talk about passion, these two have it. And that passion, Dennis, from her is not going to leave you. I know that. She's not going to leave it from all of us. She taught us very hard. People talk about kindness. Well, I've seen some of the other sides of her, too. She can be straightforward. She could be straightforward and on a track and very determined. And we need both. To make change in this world, we need the movers and the shakers and the compassion. Right up there with Wellstone, she's going to be one of my heroes. Because both of them had that compassion and the willingness to say that is not okay. And we all need to do that. She really lived a full life. Sometimes I would just be amazed. She's doing, sheep stuff. She's doing horse stuff. She's trying to parent 4 kids with a lot of issues. Like I was trying to parent a child with a lot of issues too. We had so much in common. We just got together this spring, and it's just like we don't have to skip a beat. It's like, a friend that knows you and believes in you, and you don't have to explain, we just get it. It was such a beautiful gift. And I was so happy for her to be able to finally have her time. yes, she was a giver, but she was also, like a lot of us were givers, we need a break. And we need to focus on ourselves once in a while. And I was so happy for her to be able to have that opportunity. But the thing I will remember the most about her is that she encouraged others. To see those those comments from students is just incredible. I'm very envious because as a counselor, you know, we're not supposed to have these kinds of relationships past therapy. So it's just really nice to see that someone who is a compassionate spirit, a loving person, a smart person touched so many people's lives. And I want to thank you, Stacey, for that. I will always love you. You will always be in my heart. And if I can be half the woman that you were, I will be blessed. Thank you.
Jason Jaden is the Dean of Sciences and Health Professions at Rochester Community and Technical College. Jason has provided leadership to the Early Childhood Care and Education Program the last 2 years.
Let me begin by reading a short poem. It's called The Rainbow Teacher by Joanna Fuchs. A good teacher is a brilliant light illuminating the prism of life, revealing to students a rainbow of possibilities. There's a few key words in this poem that really resonated with me. Indeed, Stacey was a brilliant light in the education community, and this is not just my opinion. For the past few days, a brilliant light has been mentioned in many of the communications I've received from students, community members, and fellow early childhood care and education faculty from around the state. Stacey could light up a room with her smile, and her enthusiasm and passion for childhood education would inspire anyone. She did not allow a global pandemic to stop her and her students from serving children's needs. She created a virtual program called Little Yellow Jackets at Home. When hearing about this, I thought to myself, what a great little program. I was right about the great program, but I was wrong about the little. Stacey went all out. "12 families signed up for the program, and she and the college students created learning kits and activities for each week of the program. It was amazing to view the results at the end of the year during the showcase that was at Heinz Center. The whole area was filled with posters and reflections of learning that went on. As a scientist, one of my favorite activities was the investigation of light and using prisms to create rainbows. Stacey touched the lives of countless people, not only her students, but the young children they educate and develop. She was very proud of the many students that went through the program, and they were grateful for her support and encouragement. Stacey definitely revealed a rainbow of possibilities to students."
Paula Tyson is an RCTC faculty colleague whose classrooms were next to Stacey's over 10 years, and they served on multiple committees together over the past 14 years.
Thank you, Jennifer. On behalf of fellow faculty, many who are just unable to join this evening, thank you for sharing your wife and your mom with us for 14 years. Our colleagues and friend Stacey did not just show up for work. She was a professional who went above and beyond, and I doubt in the 14 years with us she ever taught the same class twice, the same way. In our discipline areas, what and how we teach often change as each year our students change. And our content is really driven many times by our workforce needs, as Stacey's advisory board members here could attest to. Stacey didn't just keep up, she led, and as you've heard, she shared her curriculum and her expertise beyond just our area. In the early years that I taught with Stacey, it was not uncommon for me to be leaving and going to the east parking lot only to meet Stacey coming back after she had taught her classes during the day with some of her children, and I'd say, "Stacey, you're going the wrong direction." And she'd say, "Well, I have some things I have to prep for yet tomorrow, or else some things I need to wrap up." Another day when I'd be walking in, I could meet her rushing out in the middle of the day. And then she was maybe going off to pick someone up or to one of her internship spots with her students to visit. And on occasion, we may hitch a ride going to the other campus as we rush to a curriculum committee. And Stacey was on the curriculum committee for several years, and that's not a committee people are lined up to get onto, because it's not just, my peers are laughing, because it's not just your curriculum. You're there representing and being objective in all curriculum that is being considered for changes throughout the entire college. It's